Hey everyone out there, and we're back with another episode of the AC Podcast, bringing to you all the latest NFL sports news. Today we got a lot on the docket, and you guys may wonder why my voice sounds a little bit weird. I lost my voice last weekend, but I didn't want to cheat you guys of an episode, so I'm here. We get into the Ravens game, them defeating the Pats and what that told me. Also going to be touching on the Steelers defeating the Colts, the Eagles defeating the Bears, the Browns and their fiasco, and also the Bucs. And also I got some fan questions I'm going to get to at the end, as well as my former alma mater firing Willie Taggart. I'm going to touch on that and what that told me and where the FSU Seminoles go from there. But getting right into it, Ravens defeat the Pats yesterday 37-20. Shocker of the day. Didn't expect the Ravens to win this game. But Lamar Jackson was impressive. Ravens just overall were impressive on both sides of the ball. But Lamar Jackson he's a human joystick. He's a video game, what he can do. And Lamar Jackson is, how do I say this? He's not necessarily a superstar, but he has superstar impact on the game in just a multitude of ways. You have to account for him as a runner. He's obviously improved throwing the football. He's put himself firmly in the MVP conversation, had a 77.8 QBR yesterday, has 16 rushes for 61 yards and 2 touchdowns, also was 17-23 for 163 yards and a passing touchdown. He's put on a show yesterday. And the Ravens, also, the thing that you have to note about them is they're the only team that runs a pistol offense. Uses a pistol formation a lot in their offense. So when you have to factor that in, no other team does that. So it had to have been hard for Bill Belichick and the Patriots defense to plan for this offensive attack, because no one's really running other than the Baltimore Ravens. And you have to give the Baltimore Ravens a lot of credit from the front office down, because they selected this kid and they have reshaped the entire offense around him. They've catered to his strengths. They've helped mask his deficiencies. They've helped improve his throwing motion, his ability to throw the football. And they let him do what he does best, which is run, make plays with his arm outside the pocket, and, give him a good amount of rushing attempts. And the Ravens, they have a formula for success. They don't, no matter what it is, you always notice this about the Baltimore Ravens, they're consistent. And what I mean by that is they're going to do what they do, and they're not going to let anyone dictate that. They run the football. They ran the ball yesterday 41 times for 210 yards and 3 touchdowns. Mark Ingram was a very integral part of that, had 15 rushes for 115 yards. But you just look at the Baltimore Ravens, and they're not going to deviate from their game plan no matter if they're up or they're down. They're always going to run the football with Lamar Jackson and their stable of running backs, and they're going to play defense. Yesterday, the Ravens' defense was very impressive. Ravens pass rush yesterday when blitzing Tom Brady, because the Ravens are second in the NFL in blitz percentage. And yesterday they generated 9 pressures on 21 blitzes, which was a 43% pressure rate. That is impressive. And they generated just 2 pressures on 26 non-blitzes, which is 8% pressure rate. And that's all according to Next Gen Stats. But Ravens sent 5 or 6 blitzers on 21 of the Patriots pass attempts, aka dropbacks. So that's a pretty large amount of passes, considering Tom Brady threw the ball 46 times. So Tom Brady was under duress the whole game. And you got to give a lot of credit to the Ravens secondary. They go 4 deep at corner. They got Marlon Humphrey, who looks like an elite corner. They traded for Marcus Peters, and that trade looks like it's paying dividends. Then you got Jimmy Smith, who came back yesterday, and he was playing at a high level at corner before he got hurt in years prior, and even this year. And then they got Brandon Carr, so they have a legit dime package corner stable that they can go to whenever they need to. And I heard multiple times yesterday during while NBC was calling the game that they had in 7 defensive backs, and they were just causing havoc. They were everywhere. They were flying around, making plays. They did give up a few, but when you got Earl Thomas on the back end, that's a nice way to complement your corners with one of the best safeties in the game. I feel like he was very key to the whole game overall, because he was the quarterback of the defense, for lack of a better word, with Ed Reed in attendance. He looked like Ed Reed out there making plays on the ball. But I felt like Earl Thomas was key in this game, because when you have Tom Brady over here trying to make adjustments and read the defense, you have Earl Thomas who's disguised in the defense, making calls, making adjustments. And he actually jumped a few routes that you normally wouldn't see from safeties or even corners, but only Earl Thomas could read stuff like that. He did it in the red zone. He did it in, situational game or in situational situations like third downs and fourth downs. He was just everywhere, and he had a very profound impact on the game. That's something that's going to be good going forward because he played against Tom Brady in the Super Bowl, so he knows how he likes to operate. So that's something to watch going forward. But for the New England Patriots, I believe I said this before, but I thought their defense was overrated. Coming into this game, they had played the Jets twice, the Dolphins, the Bills, the Giants, the Steelers, the Browns, and the Redskins. All those teams are in the bottom half in offense. So we really didn't know anything about this historic, quote-unquote, Patriots defense because they hadn't played anybody. I kept reiterating that I said Stephen Gilmore's not the best corner in the league because I'm looking at the teams that he's played, looking at the receivers that he's played against. He hasn't played against anybody other than Juju Smith-Schuster. I mean, who are these guys? And Odell Beckham, but he had bracket coverage on a lot of those, and he had a lot of help over the top on Odell Beckham, so it wasn't like he was just single covering him, even though he did a nice job against him last week when playing the Browns. But even still, it was just, the Patriots defense, they're good, but they're not a team that has a lot of talent. They beat you by scheme, and they beat you by being where they're supposed to be. And yesterday, they got out of place a lot in their run fits with guys not being in cutback lanes, guys not being force players and playing their gaps. And the Ravens made them pay for it. And that's, the Ravens are a running football team. We saw that the Patriots could be run on against the Cleveland Browns. Nick Chubb ran over 100 for over 6 yards a carry, but he just fumbled the ball twice, and the Browns turned over on 3 consecutive plays. So that's how you end up losing that game. The Ravens did turn the ball over. They had some inopportune turnovers. Mark Ingram fumbled it, and they also muffed a punt, which allowed the Patriots to get back in the game after they were up 17-0. But when you look at it, the Patriots, it looks like the Baltimore Ravens can be the team that can beat them because the one thing that we've seen that can beat the New England Patriots is a mobile quarterback. Now, Lamar Jackson's got to make those type of throws in the playoffs, which is a totally different scenario. But right now, the Ravens have the speed on offense. They have Lamar Jackson, a quarterback who's a mobile threat. So even if you put a spy on him, he can still shake the spy because he's just a human joystick. You can't really bring him down. You can't get hands on him. Then there's no hope. But you just look at the Baltimore Ravens, and they're impressive. They had an impressive game. They stuck to their game plan. Lamar Jackson read his keys. He didn't turn the ball over, and he did what he does best. And so Baltimore Ravens, they're looking like a legit threat. I thought the AFC was a foregone conclusion until last night, but the Baltimore Ravens impressed me, especially on offense and on defense. So that's something to monitor going forward. But I want to get into the Steelers-Colts game. Steelers defeat the Colts 26-24. Adam Vinatieri missed a last-second field goal that could have won the game. Mason Rudolph, he was all right. 26 of 35, 191 yards, a touchdown, and interception. That wasn't his fault. Juju's got to catch the ball. It was a tight window throw, but Juju should have caught the ball nonetheless. He got both hands on it, so he should have caught it. Jacoby Brissett got hurt earlier in this game. It's reported he has an MCL sprain, but we'll see once he gets MRI. But Brian Hoyer was inserted into this game early in the first quarter, or late in the first quarter, and he went 17-26, 168 yards and 3 touchdowns. Pittsburgh Steelers defense, you can't allow that to happen with a backup quarterback. That's unacceptable. But the Colts running game was something that stood out to me. The Colts have the best offensive line in the league with Quentin Nelson, Ryan Kelly, Costanzo, Braden Smith. Those guys, they just block up fun. They could power block you. They could zone block you. They can pull guards and centers and all type of stuff. They're athletic, and they're just big and physical. Those guys are a lot to handle up front. And the Colts had a really effective running game, especially with Marlon Mack, but the Colts ran it overall 29 times for 139 yards. So that was something to monitor. But the Steelers defense showed up when it needed to. Didn't get off the field on some key third downs, which I wasn't enamored by. But I feel like the biggest play of the game was when Minkah Fitzpatrick got a 96-yard interception return for a touchdown. This guy, Minkah Fitzpatrick, he's just something special for this Pittsburgh Steelers defense. 3 interceptions in the last 2 games and a touchdown. Minkah Fitzpatrick, let's just keep this in mind. In 7+ games with the Pittsburgh Steelers, has 36 tackles, 4 interceptions, tied for second most in the NFL, by the way. 5 pass breakups, 2 forced fumbles, a fumble recovery, and a touchdown. This guy's something special, man. This guy is something special. He has completely remade this Pittsburgh Steelers defense. Before he came, I want to reiterate this again. The Steelers were 0-2, and they were giving up 30.5 points per game and averaging 0.5 takeaways per game. With him, they're allowing 16.8 points per game and averaging 3 takeaways a game. That's special. Now, safety, I was just talking to someone about this, but now safety isn't like an important position as far as like the hierarchy of positions you need on like to be successful. But for Minkah Fitzpatrick, he has corner type value for this Pittsburgh Steelers defense because corner is one of the most important positions in the NFL. But Minkah Fitzpatrick, he plays safety, but he has corner-like impact because he just gets under. He's changed his defense. He's made this defense 10 times better than what it was on pace to look like. It's just impressive what he's done since he's been here. It's just simply impressive. I just read it to you, but I can't explain to you the type of impact that he's had since he's came. It's unbelievable. The Steelers aren't giving up that many deep completions. Their corners are playing more physical and more aggressive, allowing them to undercut routes, make more plays on the ball. Their linebackers are playing faster in space. I am still a little concerned about the Steelers not being able to defend the short middle of the field with, guarding against running backs and tight ends, but Devin Bush will grow into that role as time develops. I think Mark Barron shouldn't be on the field anymore. I think that's pretty evident because he's just target practice for any corner or for any quarterback. That's pretty evident to me. Their Steelers look like their best linebacker packages with TJ Watt, Bud Dupree, Devin Bush, and Vince Williams. That's for certain. But I've just been impressed, and you guys are going to be a little shocked by what I'm about to do. And I have to admit something right here, right now. I was wrong. And I am here to apologize on this episode to Mr. Mike Tomlin, head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. I am here to apologize because I have ridiculed Mike Tomlin. I've been on him. I said he should have been fired after last year. Now I owe this man an apology. Mike Tomlin has this team at 500 without Ben Roethlisberger. He won a game with the third-string quarterback. He's got this defense looking a hell of a lot improved. And he's got these guys playing some real football. I have to issue this man an apology. He deserves far more credit than I have given him. I still don't take back the fact that we haven't been to a Super Bowl in over a decade. But Mike Tomlin has improved this defense. He's developed Mason Rudolph into a guy that can win some games. He's drawn up better game plans. I've seen coaching adjustments for once. Mike Tomlin, I think Big Ben Roethlisberger going down is the best thing that's ever happened to Mike Tomlin because it's actually showed that he knows how to coach. It showed that he knows how to make in-game adjustments. It's shown that he actually knows the X's and O's of football better than I thought he did. I thought his main attribute was that he was motivating and leading guys and inspiring guys. But no, this guy actually knows what he's doing. I never questioned he knew what he was doing, but I questioned what he was doing as far as his football knowledge, as far as getting guys in position to succeed, as far as lining up a defense and getting them to play adequately. But he knows what he's doing. This defense is vastly improved, which is something that I've been lamenting for a while because he's a defensive-minded coach. So I expect him to be good on the side of the ball that he's known for. And this defense is taking the ball away. Credit to him for hiring Terrell Austin because he's made an impact on this defense. Had defenders catching balls in a jugs machine during training camp and OTAs to make sure that these guys get their hands on the ball, and it's paid dividends. 22 forced turnovers, second in the league behind New England. This is some impressive stuff. And also, while I'm issuing apologies, I owe an apology to Bud Dupree. Because Bud Dupree in 2018 had 5.5 sacks, 13 QB hits, and 1 forced fumble. This year, he has, through 8 games, 6 sacks, ties a career high, 9 quarterback hits, and 2 forced fumbles. He's on pace to have a double-digit sack year, something he's never had. If he keeps this up, he's going to get paid by the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's for certain. But I've been ridiculing him as well, and I owe him an apology as well because he's balling out this year. I love what he's doing on defense. So that's something to monitor going forward. But the Steelers, they're right back in the thick of things. Didn't help that Baltimore won yesterday, but with the way the rest of that AFC is looking, looks like a wild card coming out the AFC North. I still don't know if the Pittsburgh Steelers can make a playoff berth or not. I'll maybe think about it in the next few weeks because they play the Rams next week. Then they play Cincinnati again, easy game. They play Cleveland twice, Arizona, Buffalo, the Jets, and Baltimore to close out the season. So there's 6 out of 8 winnable games on their schedule still. Cleveland twice, Cincinnati, Arizona, Buffalo, and the Jets. Only games I wouldn't consider them favorites in is the Rams and the Baltimore game. But there's a way that they can make the playoffs and go 10-6. There's a legit way. But we'll have to see. Pittsburgh Steelers, but they look good. They look good. I cannot deny that. Mike Tomlin looks like he's doing a hell of a job coaching. And I got to give him a lot of credit because I was criticizing him. I was ridiculing him. I was on him. And everybody who knows me knows I've been hot on Mike Tomlin's behind. But I'll admit I was wrong. And he's done a great job getting this team back on track and not tanking in the season. These guys are playing football. And I appreciate it. Eagles defeat the Bears yesterday, 22-14. Mitchell Trubisky, man. What a disgrace. What a disgrace this guy is. I'm sure he's a nice guy because I'm only talking about his on-the-field play. But this man only completed 10 passes yesterday for 125 yards. Had an 18.2 QBR. Pathetic. The Chicago Bears defense should sue Mitchell Trubisky. They should. Because he's wasting them away. This is utterly ridiculous that this man is going to hold this team back from being a Super Bowl contender. Because he can't complete passes. Because he can't throw the football down the field. Because he's just so inept that the Bears themselves don't even believe in him. It's flat out ridiculous. I'm going to say it again. That the Chicago Bears and their GM, whoever it was that chose Mitchell Trubisky, chose him and traded up, by the way, and chose him over Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes. I'm going to say it again. It's a fireable offense. A quarterback changes your entire franchise. And this guy hasn't changed life for the Chicago Bears. He hasn't. It's just flat out ridiculous. But I'm here to give the Eagles credit because they took care of business at home yesterday. Carson Wentz, 26 of 39, 239 yards, a touchdown. Running game was effective. 35 rushes for 146 yards. Jordan Howard had a nice little revenge game, returning back to Chicago. 19 carries for 82 yards and a touchdown. Miles Sanders, 10 carries for 42 yards. Lightning and thunder, like I said, with those two. But this man, Alshon, 3 more drops yesterday. 4 receptions for 36 yards, and this guy's getting paid $15 million. It's unacceptable. Alshon looks like he should be cut. He's probably going to get cut at the end of the season, whenever the Eagles season ends. Because Alshon, Eagles can't pay this man this much money and get this little production from him. This is unacceptable. And if he was an anonymous quote, he should be even more ashamed of himself because he should have nothing to complain about. Because every time you throw him the ball, he's dropping it. Dropping key third downs. Dropping deep passes. Running out of bounds. It's just unbelievable. Maybe Carson Wentz should be an anonymous source against these Eagles receivers and see how they like it. Since they want to call him out all the time. How about Carson Wentz go on anonymously and call out receivers and O-linemen for giving up sacks quicker than he can breathe hydrogen and for throwing balls to receivers and them dropping it so many times, leading the league in drops. It's ridiculous. You just can't make this stuff up. But yesterday, Eagles won this game because they ran the ball effectively, neutralized Khalil Mack, kept the Bears' defense on the field, which is their strength, but tired them out nonetheless, grounded and pounded them, wore them out. And the Eagles were relatively effective in 12 personnel. For those who don't know what that is, it's 1 running back, 2 tight ends. Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert had big games, combining for 10 receptions, 107 yards and a touchdown. Zach Ertz yesterday, 9 receptions, 103 yards and a touchdown. And Dallas Goedert yesterday, 4 receptions, 39 yards and a touchdown. Oh, no, they combined for 142 yards. But needless to say, overall, the Eagles are a team that has to win playing bully ball. They have to play big man ball because they don't have any receivers that can run by you. Deshaun Jackson only played a series yesterday, and then he got hurt. Or they held him out for precautionary reasons, whatever that means. But needless to say, Eagles got to play bully ball. They got to play with the big guys. They got to run the ball behind their big offensive line. And then on offense, they got thrown up to their big guys and just body guys with Alshon, with Matt Collins, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, whatever you can get from Nelson Aguilar because he doesn't give you much anyway. So you got to squeeze whatever you can out of him. And that's the way they're going to have to win games because I still don't trust this defense. But they showed up yesterday against Mr. Trubisky, big whoop-de-doo. He ain't nothing to brag about, but they handled their business. And, that's that. I still don't know if the Eagles can win this division because their secondary is so god-awful and they don't have a speed receiver other than Deshaun Jackson. So every drive is going to be a long drive. And I don't know how many chunk plays you can get with these receivers because they lead the league in drops. So that's that. But I like what Carson Wentz is doing, of course, threw another touchdown pass yesterday. And the Eagles, they're just going to have to play bully ball and not try to throw it too much because Carson Wentz doesn't have the requisite weapons to drop back and throw it 40 to 50 times. And they run the ball effectively anyway, so that's that. But I want to get to these Cleveland Browns. I'm not even going to bring up stats about this because I don't even want to delve into this foolishness with these Cleveland Browns. This is just the most overrated team going into the season. I try to tell people. But anybody notice why the Cleveland Browns can't stop the bleeding? Because they don't have anybody on this team that knows how to win. They don't have any proven winners. They don't have any guys that have been in winning organizations in adverse situations and pulled out and won a few games. Their most key players are guys who've never won anything. Odell Beckham, been to the playoffs once and goofballed it up going down to Miami and then losing to Green Bay. Nick Chubb's never won anything. Baker Mayfield has never won anything. Jarvis Landry came from Miami where they weren't winning a damn thing. Some really unreal. Sheldon Richardson's never won anything. Myles Garrett's been mired in mediocrity with the Cleveland Browns for 3 seasons, so he hasn't won anything. Olivier Vernon didn't win anything with the Giants. And before that, he was on the tanking Miami Dolphins, who were suspect, so they didn't win anything. Demarius Randall's never won anything. Denzel Ward never won anything. Greedy Williams is a rookie. All their good players are the guys who never won anything. So you have nowhere to turn in adverse situations to right the ship. And their head coach is Freddie Kitchens, who doesn't even deserve to have a head coaching job right now. Wasn't even an offensive coordinator until Todd Haley got fired in the back half of the season. Then got elevated to the coaching position because Baker Mayfield liked him. Should have stayed as the offensive coordinator and hired a seasoned coach who already has some NFL experience. But instead they hired this. And now look where the Browns are, 2-6. Right up above the sorry Cincinnati Bengals. This is what they get for being a poorly run franchise. This is exactly what they get. Exactly what they get. They're getting exactly what they deserve. You can't even feel sorry for the Browns because it is what it is. They make bad choices consistently, and when you're a bad franchise that makes bad choices, you consistently get bad results no matter how much talent you have. It's sad. It really is. But for all y'all that jumped on the bandwagon, good luck to you. Go down with that ship because it's not coming back up anytime soon. It's going to stay down like the Titanic is in the ocean still right now. Good luck with that. We'll get to this Bucs game. Bucs lose in overtime to Seattle, 40-34. The Bucs are annoying. They really are. This team upsets me. You know why they upset me? Because they always play a few games that give you some sense of hope that they're going to compete. And then when you have a little bit of expectations for them, they crash down to the ground. And this team is just not good. Jameis Winston wasn't bad yesterday. 29-44 for 335 yards, 2 touchdowns, and they still lost. because Tampa Bay Bucs defense is atrocious. The secondary is hapless. It's god-awful. It's moribund. It's pathetic. It's just an abomination. These dudes gave up 100 receiving yards plus to two different receivers. Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf accounted for over 77% of the Seahawks team air yards yesterday. Lockett, 18 targets, 13 receptions for 152 yards and 2 touchdowns. DK Metcalf, 6 receptions, 123 yards and a touchdown. Bucs defense is just horrendous. And Russell Wilson, 29 of 43, 378 yards and 5 touchdowns. Tampa Bay, man. It's just ridiculous what they do. They have no DBs. They have no anything. They had no answers for Russell Wilson yesterday. Buccaneers blitzed Russell Wilson, according to Next Gen Stats, on 76% of his dropbacks, the highest blitz rate in a game in the Next Gen Stats era since 2016. And he finished 19 of 32 for 221 yards and 3 touchdowns against the blitz. And he was only pressured 5 times on 35 blitz dropbacks, a 14% pressure rate. That's horrendous. So you're sending pressure 76% of the time, and you only got pressure 14%. That's garbage. It's just garbage. Todd Bowles, I'm sorry, but you don't look like you know what you're doing on defense. Because your blitzes weren't getting home. Yeah, you kept sending them. Russell Wilson kept beating them. You gave 3 touchdowns on blitzes. And yeah, you thought the better idea was to keep sending blitzes. What a disgrace the Bucs are on defense. It's just that simple. You can't even win when Jameis Winston has a good game. We know you can't win when Jameis Winston has a bad game. There's just nothing to draw. There's no hope to draw from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They have so many deficiencies. Offensive line, quarterback, secondary. It's just flat out ridiculous with these guys. You watch them and they're good enough to keep you interested, but not good enough to go over the top and win games consistently. This team can't win games consistently. It's unrealistic. It's just unreal to continue to watch this team locally and watch them lose year after year after year. It's ridiculous. I want to get to these fan questions from a Tom. And a Tom, I need you to come on this show and explain yourself, because I know you're a Bucs fan. I need you to come up here and explain yourself for why Jameis Winston is not producing and why you think he's a franchise quarterback. I need you to come here and explain something about these Tampa Bay Bucs. I need you to come up here and explain something, because you're not giving it to me in the messages. So I'm going to need you to come up here and explain it, because I'm not a believer in this Bucs team the way you are. So I need you to come up here and explain this nonsense to me. Flat out ridiculous. The Tampa Bay Bucs. I'm going to get to this first question. And it says, if Jameis were on the Bears, would they be a playoff team? Let me tell you something right now. Hell no, they would not be. Hell no. Because the Bears have deficiencies in too many places. Their O-line is god-awful. They're giving up too many sacks. If you watch the Chicago Bears, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Jameis is too turnover prone, number 2. He has 92 turnovers since 2015. That right there shows he's not a franchise quarterback. Let alone the amount of weapons that he's had. The Chicago Bears don't have better weapons than the Tampa Bay Bucs. So am I to believe that Jameis Winston is going to throw them to victory? Throw them to a Super Bowl? No. He's more likely to throw it to the other team with his dessert pop-up shop running behind. Get out of here serving up turnovers every other week. No. And he would still be the worst quarterback in the NFC North. Kirk Cousins is better than him, regardless of what you think about Kirk Cousins. He's better than him. We all know Aaron Rodgers is better than him, and Matthew Stafford is better than him. So even then, no, there'd be no hope for the Bears. Even with their elite defense, there'd be no hope. I'm sorry, no. I don't see it anywhere. So no, they would not be a playoff team, even with him in the division. Or on the Bears, excuse me. You asked another question. You said, what team would be a good fit for Jameis, assuming he is not re-signed by the Bucs? he shouldn't be re-signed by the Bucs, number one. If the Bucs do that, they'll be foolish. They will be a foolish organization to sit up there and re-sign this man after what they've seen the last 5 years. This is what they subjected this fan base to. Bucs haven't done anything. They haven't done anything since Jameis Winston's been the quarterback, except lose. So you're going to subject your fans to more losing? More? That's what you want? Since 2015, the Bucs, 2015, Jameis Winston's first year, they went 6-10, good for fourth in the NFC South. Then the next year, they went 9-7, got second in the NFC South. Then 2017, 2018, 5-11, 5-11, and this year they're 2-6. Only better than the Falcons, who have one victory still. No, Jameis Winston is not the guy that's going to lead you to victory. Just give it up now. I know he was the number one overall pick. You brought in a lot of different coordinators, a lot of different head coaches. No one's been able to fix them. It's just time to let it go. Draft someone else. There's plenty of quarterbacks in this draft to choose from. I'm sorry, but Jameis Winston time, it's got to come to a close in Tampa Bay at some point, and this year should be the year. Do not re-sign this man after his fifth-year extension is up, or fifth-year option is up. It's a wrap. But getting to your actual question, what teams would Jameis be a good fit for? I say his future is most likely as a backup quarterback, but I think he could start on a team like the Cincinnati Bengals because Andy Dalton just got benched. So it looks like his time is up, but the Bengals they're going to draft a quarterback. But I'm sure he could be a guy that could be a stopgap until that guy gets ready to play. Chargers is another team I see because Phillip Rivers looks like he's on the decline. Chargers are a struggling team anyways, so they're not that good. And a sleeper team I would say is the New Orleans Saints because we just saw what Sean Payton did with Teddy Bridgewater going 5-0. Sean Payton knows how to develop quarterbacks. He has a good offense that's proven to work in the NFL. He just did it with a guy who doesn't have a strong arm, Teddy Bridgewater doesn't have a stronger arm than Jameis Winston. Anybody with eyes could tell that. So I think if he wanted to rectify his career in any way, that would be a team to go to. So that could be something that would be interesting. I would like to see it. That probably would make Bucs fans feel good because if he performed stellar under Sean Payton and he took the reins over after Drew Brees, that would really stick it to Bucs fans in a place they wouldn't like. But overall, yeah, those are the teams I say that he would draw the most interest from, or they would be good fits. And your last question is about Deshaun Jackson. It says, what does the future look like for Deshaun Jackson? Well, without Deshaun Jackson on the Eagles, they're definitely easier to defend because you can compact the middle of the field, play a lot of coverage that dictates and covers the middle of the field and restrict where the Eagles can throw the football, which ultimately hampers Carson Wentz and forces the Eagles to throw the ball or run the ball a lot more, which, I mean, they're doing it effectively now. But if you're able to load the box and play coverage to the middle of the field, really hampers their offense because they don't have a guy that can run by you. Receivers are leading the league in drops, so that doesn't look good. But right now, the future, I mean, it looks up for Deshaun Jackson only because the rest of the receivers he's better than every other Eagles receiver. Alshon's not that good. He's just a guy at this point. Matt Collins, he's no good. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, he's no good. You already know how I feel about Nelson Aguilar. Guy should have been traded last year. He's not even good this year. Being paid almost like a top 25 receiver, and he's just not that good. He's just not that good. It just is what it is. But the problem it lies where injuries are beginning to become a concern because he just keeps getting injured. And this mysterious abdominal injury that he has, I don't get it, but it keeps keeping him out of games. So Eagles are going to have to draft another deep threat wide receiver in the draft this year. They should be ashamed. The Eagles should be ashamed of themselves, number one, because they passed up on Terry McLaurin and DK Metcalf for J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. Can you imagine if DK Metcalf was in this Eagles receiving core right now? He'd be the best receiver on the team. Easily. And he has legit 4.3 speed at 6'3". Now, I get it. He wasn't the most polished route runner. Didn't have the best hands coming out of college, but you see what he did yesterday to the Tampa Bay Bucs. Eagles can use someone like that. It's unreal. But the future is looking up for Deshaun Jackson. The Eagles are going to have to get another deep threat to supplant him just in case he gets hurt so their offense doesn't completely fall off and Carson Wentz actually has a legit receiver to throw the ball to, because right now he doesn't even have a go-to guy. Zach Ertz was the go-to guy last year, but teams are, bracketing him, doubling him, putting their corners on him instead of linebackers and safeties. So teams have made adjustments to that. So right now the Eagles need another deep threat. They need to go out and get some fast guys in free agency or the draft to help mitigate that. So I think that's, where Deshaun Jackson's future heads, but it's looking up for sure. But I want to get to this last thing before I sign off, because everybody knows I used to attend Florida State, former alma mater, love the Seminoles. And yesterday afternoon, Willie Taggart got fired. Willie Taggart was let go of, and I can understand why. 9-12 record at FSU, but in my opinion, he never should have had a job in the first place. He was 47-50 before he got hired at FSU, and FSU is an institution that prides itself on winning. And for you to hire someone that had a losing record before they came to you, that didn't show that you're about winning. So for FSU to do that, that's on them. That's not Willie Taggart's fault. You offered this man a job at a prime school, a Power 5 school, and gave him the reins. That typically doesn't happen, or it never happens for African Americans. So, of course, he wasn't going to turn that down. But you just look at what Taggart promised, and he didn't fulfill those promises. And this is the part where I'm going to get on him, because I'm going to get on FSU too, because this is both people's fault. But on Taggart's side, he promised lethal simplicity, which his offense was a little too predictable, at least to my eyes. He ran a lot of inside zones, outside zones, bubble screens, short passing plays, had some tricks here and there, had a couple deep passes here and there, but for the most part, his offense just wasn't that effective all at FSU, especially against prime competition, against the Miamis, the Clemsons, the Floridas, maybe in a Boston College or Louisville. They just weren't that effective when needed most. And at FSU, that's where you make your money. You don't make your money against Samford's, Alabama States, Wichita States, whatever. You don't make your money against those teams because you're expected to beat those teams by a wide margin. So that was something that I noticed. Also, just from the eye test, like the players never fully bought into Willie Taggart's system. I mean, we could harken back to the Clemson game where they got stomped last year. Forget this year, they got stomped last year, and players were like, they quit. I was at that game in the hot sun watching that, and it was a flat-out catastrophe. It was a flat-out fiasco. Players just doing what they wanted to play. Looked like Clemson straight up walked up to them, looked them in the face, snatched their hearts right out their chests. They were like, the FSU got punked on that day. It was just a complete undressing. It wasn't fun to watch. But just like the players never fully believed and bought into the system. And when you have players buying in, especially in college football, we have to remember this. College football and college basketball are the two sports that run the NCAA. They bring in the most revenue. And they're dominated by what? Predominantly African-American players. And Willie Taggart is an African-American coach. And you had other African-American individuals, young men, not fighting for an African-American coach. That does not reflect good upon your institution when you've put this man in a position of power as the head coach. When they're not buying in, that gives them a license to say, maybe you don't need to be here. Maybe you don't deserve to coach here. Maybe we shouldn't put another black person in position of power here. Because your own people won't even follow you. They don't believe in you and your system. So why should we? That was very disappointing. And it just looked like that the whole time. FSU, they play a lot of undisciplined football. They're always penalized a lot. They don't seem like they always play with enough energy and sense of urgency. They're too lackadaisical sometimes. You got dudes quitting on the team. It's just too much. And that was the part where I feel like Willie Taggart came up short. Just his tenure there just wasn't meant to be, and it didn't look like it was going to turn around. People have made arguments, you should have let him stay till the end of the season. There's only 3 games left. There's no hope of FSU doing anything this season relatively competitive wise, or making a bowl game. He was 5-7 last year, 6-6, one game better. That's not going to do anything. Willie Taggart is 56-62 as a head coach. He still doesn't have a 500 record, let alone a winning record. So there's no point letting him stay till the end of the season. That affects recruiting because players that are on the team and then players that you're recruiting are thinking that, oh, if he's staying, then that's the person they're going to come play for. But if you hold on to him, you're basically giving them a false sense of hope because you're leading all those players and parents on to believe that they're going to be playing for Willie Taggart when in the back of your mind as the athletic director in the school, you're going to fire him and have another head coach in here. So that affects recruiting. You want to get a head coach. You want to get a head start on getting a new head coach so you can have time to evaluate guys because FSU didn't do a good job of evaluating, doing their homework on Willie Taggart. Because they should have noticed that he had a losing record before he came to FSU. Now, it's not his fault that he took the job because when you offer African-American that type of job, of course you're going to take it. That's your chance to prove yourself. And granted, he didn't have enough time either. I'm going to touch on that. But it just didn't seem like it was going to turn around for Willie Taggart. So I can't really fault FSU for firing him. It just wasn't a good look. It wasn't a good fit. It wasn't a good match. And wish him all the best. But on the FSU side of things, you guys know where I'm going with this. We're at to pull out the race card for a minute here. Willie Taggart is a black man. And as a black man, you have certain expectations. But FSU, they didn't put this man in a position to succeed. They didn't give this man a fair shot. My mindset is at least give him until halfway through next year to evaluate him. He only had a year and 3 quarters. A year and 3 quarters, and this man was fired. Now, as a black man, as a black coach, you know you have a shorter leash. You know that your opportunities are limited. But you didn't even get this man a full 2 years before you fired him. I challenge anybody to name a white coach that in the same position would have succeeded. Because there's 3 main problems that I see with the FSU Seminoles, who were rebuilding even after Jimbo Fisher left them high and dry for Texas A&M. There were 3 things that were wrong with FSU Seminoles that no matter what coach came in was going to take a few years to address. The O-line, which hasn't been good since Jameis has been here, the culture, and consistency overall. FSU can say that they're an institution that prides itself on winning, but they have no pedigree right now. They have no record or stats to show for that. They haven't been winning anything since they've been to the college football playoff and the championship the year prior. They haven't won anything since then. So what could they be hanging their hat on that makes them think that they're a winning institution when it comes to football? It's just unbelievable. I want someone to name a white coach that would have succeeded in this same position and gotten this short of a leash. Because we all know the white man don't get this short of a leash. A year and 3 quarters to turn a program around? A program that has culture and consistency problems? You know how long it takes to build team chemistry? It's ridiculous. And then to top it all off, another report came out yesterday that $20 million in private donations were made to help buy out this man's contract. That's foul. That right there is foul. $20 million. Do you know how hard it is to raise $1 million, let alone 20? $20 million. They really wanted this man gone. I don't know who, because it's private donations, but FSU raised $20 million in 24 hours or less, following the loss to Miami. They really wanted this man gone. They didn't want this man to coach another game. He didn't even make it to Monday. They wanted him gone effectively and immediately. That's ridiculous to me. It just shows the type of treatment that black people get. My question is, would a white coach have been treated the same? Would people have raised $20 million in private donations to get rid of a white man or a white coach? I just want everyone to think about that for a second. Because that's where we are. Taggart was given a different set of standards. He was given a different set of standards. He was expected to perform despite a different set of standards. If you put a white coach on this team, would he have been expected to turn around in a year and 3 quarters? He was given so little. He didn't have a quarterback, didn't have an offensive line. His staff wasn't as adequate. Yet FSU had such high expectations. Did they think this team was talented? There's not that much talent on FSU right now. Let's just be honest. That's why they blew a 20-point lead to Miami last year in 2018. That's why they lost by 49 at home to Clemson last year. That's why they lost by 26 at home to Florida. That's why they got beat this year by 31 by Clemson, and why they lost by 17 at home to Miami. You're just not that good. And FSU has failed to recognize that. Maybe if they adjusted their standards, Willie Taggart would still be the head coach. He didn't have 2 full recruiting seasons to get his players in here for his system before they fired him, before they shipped him up out of here. They didn't put him in a position to succeed. They didn't even give him enough time. How do you change a culture in a year and 3 quarters? How do you build consistency in a year and 3 quarters? We're still trying to get some of Jimbo's players up out of here. Now, granted, I can't fault FSU for making this move, but I'm just looking at how Willie Taggart was treated and what was done to get him up out of here. I just feel like it was a little excessive, a little extreme. How do you think other young black men feel in that locker room that you got that man up out of there quick, fast, and in a hurry, bought him out, private donations, $20 million? I don't think people realize how much $20 million is. We're talking about 20 times over the FSU got in private donations to buy this man's contract out. That's insane. In 24 hours? Do you realize all the problems that we could solve if people made private donations like that? World hunger, people homeless, social issues. You can't get people to raise money for those type of issues, but you could get people to raise $20 million to fire a black head coach who hadn't been there for more than a year and 3 quarters. That's disgraceful. That's disgraceful. Where's the hope at for the other young black head coaches that want to come to a premier school? Where's the hope? You're being given. What are you being given? What was Taggart given? He was given a messy situation that was left by Jimbo Fisher. And you expect him to fix it in less than 2 years? Like I said, I would have given him to the middle of next year at least. At least let him get 2 full years of his recruiting classes in there. Let him coach these guys up a little bit and see what happens. By that time, you've already played Clemson and Miami, most likely. And you see what happens. But Florida State, they need to adjust their perception of who they are. Because they're not a winning institution. They're not. The days with Jameis and Dalvin Cook in 2013 and 2014, those days are long gone. You can't keep living off of that. Now, granted, it wasn't that long ago, but you can't keep living off of that. Clemson's coming taking over the ACC. Bama's not going anywhere in the SEC. LSU and Georgia are powerhouses. I don't know what FSU thinks they are, but they're not close to that. They're not anywhere close to competing on that level. I don't know what made them think that they could hire someone and they were going to fix this mess in less than 2 years. FSU wants a quick fix. They want quick grits. They don't want a process. What do you think a rebuild is? A rebuild just doesn't magically happen overnight. It takes time. Players have to be developed. They have to be coached on and off the field. You're bringing in freshmen that have maturity issues. They're still learning how to be young men in society. And most of these men are young black men. And that's what you showed them. You got this man up out of here faster than he could sneeze. And that's the message you want to send to all those young African Americans in that locker room. That they're expendable. They could be shipped away, bought out in society. That they have no value. Willie Taggart didn't have any value. He wasn't valuable to Florida State. He wasn't. He seemed valuable when they sought after him and got him away from Oregon. But it wasn't valuable to them. They didn't treat that man like he had value because they bought him out. They bought him out behind his back. Private donations. Shameful what FSU did. A white coach wouldn't have made this any better. But I bet he would have got a longer leash. I'm interested to see what FSU does going forward. Because we're all going to look back on this day. And most people won't even recognize this stuff. They won't even say anything about this. Because it's uncomfortable. Because it doesn't need to be said. Why we have to play the race card? Well, it's got to be played. Because it matters. Because it's important. Because it's an ongoing issue that's still going on in society. And because I'm a black man. And it's important to me. I have no problem with Willie Taggart getting fired. But with the way that it happened and what FSU did, I can't excuse that. I can't let that slide under the rug. I can't let that go unnoticed. Willie Taggart deserved better than that. He deserved better. He wasn't given much to work with. And FSU screwed him over like that. It's disgraceful. FSU should be ashamed of themselves. Private donations, raised $20 million in private donations. I hope those same private donators can raise some funds to help improve the city of Tallahassee. Because FSU's not an attractive place to play football right now. I hope FSU recognizes that while they're over here raising private donations. Their winning pedigree doesn't exist right now. And they need to stop living off of that. 2013 and 2014 is over. It's about to be 2020. Time to move on. I'm ashamed to be a Seminole on this day because that's disgraceful stuff. I can't believe that they did that to that man. It's unbelievable. But I want to thank you all for listening. I want to thank all my subscribers, of course. Thank the people who left fan questions. If you guys have any other questions, leave them in the comment section of this episode. And I'll get to them. I'll answer them for next week's episode. Like I said, I appreciate all you guys. Thank you for listening. I'm out.